as opposed to thinking that Dr. Frank was giving $100 cash donation right there on the spot?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I never thought about that.
And I object to this whole line of questioning because there's not been established the treasurer has a duty to oversee this type of a transaction.
Well, so let me ask you this, Ms. Blystone. Your husband received $100 in cash from Dr. Frank that day, correct?
But he gave it back to him.
Did your husband receive $100 in cash from Dr. Frank Douglas, that day, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Did you report that as a contribution to the campaign?
No, because he gave it back to him.
So you refunded it back.
I wouldn't call it a refund.
Did you report it back as a refund?
I did not. It's just a marketing. It was just a marketing tool.
Well, who came up with that as a marketing tool?
I don't know.
How do you know it was a marketing tool?
Well, that's what it looks like.
No, it looks like to me that Dr. Frank is giving $100 to your husband for the campaign.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, but that's not what happened.
But the campaign knew. Did the campaign know it was going to give back that $100 to Dr. Frank when that happened?
Objection. That what is the campaign?
You can answer if you want.
You got to answer.
Oh, I got to answer that.
Even if I object, you still have to answer. It's just for the record.
What was the question again?
I said, did the campaign know when Dr. Frank presented that $100 in cash to your husband there that it was going to give the money back to Dr. Frank?
Yes.
And when you were there and observed that, did you know that Dr. Frank wasn't really giving a $100 donation to the campaign?
Yes.
Then towards the end of that clip, we see a whole bunch of people walking up to your husband. Did you see that in the video?
Yes.
And they were handing stuff to your husband.
Yes.
What were they handing to him?
I don't know. I'm the treasurer. I don't know what they were handing him.
You don't know if they were handing money?
I don't know.
Did your husband ever give you money following that exchange with the individuals?
Well, I don't know what, I would have to look up my donations for that day. I don't know. I can't recall.
Did your husband give you money that he said people gave to him that day?
I don't recall. I do not remember. That was a long time ago.
Okay. So your husband there, if people were giving him money, he might have kept it, he might have given it to you, he might have done who knows what with it, correct?
Well, I would imagine if someone gave him money, he would give it to me and I would make the necessary paperwork for it.
Now, if that was money being exchanged with your husband, was everyone under $25?
I don't know. I cannot recall.
Right. Well, no one was taking names and address and information from any of those people, correct?
Well, that I don't know.
You were there, though. You observed all this, correct?
I did not observe everything that went on at that event. No.
Did you observe that exchange with when Frank Douglas came up and greeted your husband and the conclusion of the event when people were walking up to him?
Objection. She's already asked this. She's already answered this question. I would ask that we can ask questions one time, please. You can't keep asking her the question and try to get a different answer.
You go ahead and answer.
I'll ask it again.
I said, were you there and observing when Frank Douglas came up and made that little speech? I said that little 3-minute clip that we just heard. Frank Douglas is there, and people came up afterwards. You were there and observed that, correct?
Correct.
Did you observe anybody taking names and addresses of any of those people giving money to your husband?
Same objection. Go ahead.
I don't recall. That was a long time ago. I think I answered that.
Would it have been consistent with your standard operating procedures of the campaign to take name and address of information from people walking up, handing money to your husband?
Yes.
But did you see it? Did you observe anybody in that clip taking names and address from people who walked up and then walked away?
Not at that moment, but it could have happened after that celebration.
So if I look at the campaign finance reports for that date, you might have individual contributions as opposed to just a one-line entry of contributions.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay,
I'd have to look.
no problem. Chris, if we can call up clip number 2, please. Calling up another clip. It's a little grainy and not the most clear video. I'm going to ask you if you recognize the 2 people in this video clip. I believe it occurred on a riverboat on the Ohio River in early July of 2021, to give you a context. Okay, let's hold it there. Do you see the clip, Ms. Blystone?
I see.
Hang on, Chris. Okay. And were you on that riverboat cruise, that fundraiser that was held on the Ohio River in early July of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Is that what this event is from? Can you
Well,
tell?
that's what it looks like.
Okay. Gentleman on the right, there's two gentlemen with cowboy hats. There's one on the right, looks like he's wearing a light red shirt. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you know who that is?
That's my husband.
Okay. And do you know who the other gentleman on the left side in kind of a blue shirt?
That's Dr. Frank.
Okay, let's play the video then, please.
So I promised Joe that if he invited me to his event, I'd donate $100. Well, Chris started having they dance every day, and we're inviting you to that. I was asking about it about a month ago or something. I said, Joe, how much fundraising you over here? You look, you need 10,000 people to donate $100, and you got $1 million. Then I go to the president and say, man, you got $1 million, right? It's a great candidate, right? So if you haven't given $100 yet, get on it. Thanks. Right. Cowboy hat. I hear her call on social media. Tell the cowboy call.
Okay, that concludes the clip. Mr. Chairman, I would move that the admission of this clip number 2 into evidence.
No objection.
Grounds, please.
No, you said no objection.
Oh, no objection. Okay, I'm sorry. Admitted.
So, Ms. Blystone, you were able to observe and I think hear a little bit better that video clip.
Yes.
There again, it appeared that it was Frank Douglas handing another $100 in cash to your husband at that event.
And again, that was a prop and it was a marketing tool.
Okay. But your husband did receive and accept that contribution in early July of 2021, correct? From Dr. Frank.
Yes. And he returned it to Dr. Frank.
Did you report that contribution on the campaign finance reports?
No, because my husband would have returned that to Dr. Frank.
How do you know your doctor would have returned that to Dr. Frank?
How do I know my husband would have returned it? Because he did. He told me.
When did he tell you that?
I don't know. Maybe right there on the boat.
Okay.
I don't know.
Again, this was another prop and representation
Correct.
that, you know, hang on,
Correct.
you need to let me,
To encourage people to donate $100.
but you knew at the time that the campaign was not getting $100 from Dr. Frank, correct?
Correct, because
Your
my
husband would have known at that time that he was not keeping the $100 donation that was indicated from Dr. Frank, correct?
That's an
Correct.
objection, speculative.
But this was done in order to entice people to give donations to the campaign, correct?
Yes.
Now, looking through the campaign finance reports from the 2021 annual report, there is actually a refund of $500 that you report to Frank Douglas. Are you aware of that?
No, I am not aware of that.
Okay, let me. Okay. I'm calling up an excerpt taken from the campaign finance reports from the Secretary of State's website. And this is a result of a search for all contributions from Frank Douglas. And it indicates 2 contributions were made to the Blystone campaign.
Okay.
You see that one on July 20th for 2021 of $479.70. And the second one is indicated on July 7th of $500. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And then if you do a search for the payees, i.e. expenditures from the Blystone campaign, on August 25th, 2021, there's a refund reported to Frank Douglas, or Douglas Frank,
Yeah.
for $500. Can you explain what's going on in that transactions?
I am not sure.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know what what that one was for.
But you see something. But did you write all the checks for the campaign?
No, I did not. Deb Abbott is also on the account.
Okay. So whoever did you write the $500 refund check
I do not know.
to Frank Douglas?
I cannot recall.
Okay. I want to get into kind of the fundraising that occurred here, and I'm going to call up well, let me back up. Have you, since January of 2022, has the campaign filed an amended report with the Secretary of State's for that 2021 annual report?
I believe we did, yes.
You were just looking off to your left to get affirmation from somebody. I need to know can you explain who you were looking to get affirmation?
Joe's assistant, Deb.
Okay. That's Deb Abbott?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Get us in this.
Yes.
But are you aware of filing an amended report as the treasurer for the campaign?
Yes.
And there's different ways you got to file electronically with the Secretary of State, correct?
Yes.
Can you explain how you maintain the data of contributions, expenditures, and then file it with the Secretary of State, how that process occurs?
Well, it happens a few ways. We take donations. I have a form that I fill out to receive a donation, or a volunteer fills a piece of paper out, or they can go online and make a donation online. And we also take donations at events on something called a Smart Sheet, which is an app that we can capture the donations electronically.
Okay.
And then
Go ahead.
And it's then we create a spreadsheet, and that's what's downloaded or uploaded to Secretary of State.
Okay. So you maintain it on a separate spreadsheet, and at the report time, file it with the Secretary of State.
Correct.
Okay. Call up another exhibit here. Da-ba-bum. Okay, I'm pulling up another exhibit. It's actually a 4-page document. I'd represent to you in the commission that this is actually the exhibit B that is attached to the 012 complaint. And the various donations or reported contributions that are at issue here. Have you seen this sheet before?
I do not believe I have.
Okay. Have you seen the complaint in this action before?
Well, what complaint are you referring to?
No, one of the two. Have you seen the 2 complaints that were filed with the Ohio Elections Commission relative to you and your husband in the campaign?
Well, I've not read it in detail.
Okay. Now, you had indicated that you thought you had filed an amended report, and I would represent to you, this is the report off of the Secretary of State's website most recently, which it does appear certain clarifications have been provided. Do you recognize any of these entries indicating contributions to the campaign?
Do I recognize them?
Yeah. As part of the recent amended report that you filed?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah. What I'm going to do is this sheet is actually in an alphabetical order. I'm going to call up a sheet more in chronological order to make our discussion a little bit easier. Again, this was pulled actually just earlier today from the Secretary of State's website with your amended information. And what I can do is I would like just once you kind of go through and review the whole thing, what I'm going to do is actually email it to your legal counsel right now.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest we go off the record for about 2 minutes, take a brief recess if people need to use the restroom. That way she can have a chance to review it and we're not sitting here.
I concur.
You concur to take the break?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're sending it right now. Time
Yeah,
is 2:24. We'll take a short break until 2:30.
perfect. Yeah, I'll send it to Mr. Richter as well, just so he has it and he can do with it as he sees. So doing it right now.
Good. If it comes to me, I'll immediately recirculate it to everybody. There we go.
Commissioners, the documents are being circulated over to you as well from Mr. Richter.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Mrs. Blystone needed to go to the bathroom, so I told her I'd rather her go to the bathroom and come back than meet that 2:30 deadline. If that's all right with you.
that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just say no.
Yeah. Phil or Chris, logistically, I'd like to get clip 4 ready to go.
Which one is that?
Number 4, clip 4.
He's standing there with the red, the grounded drum's red. He's up on kind of a platform.
Yes, that one. Thank you.
While we're speaking of preliminary matters, I do need to remind you, as we said in the beginning of our session today, that we have to.
I'm not sure is
end the
Mr.
session
Brown
at
still
4
on or
o'clock
not.
today.
I understand that. Just make sure Mr. Brown's on as well, just so. I think he's.
Chris, swing around here real quick if you would.
Would you?
Swing around here real quick.
Yes,
This one?
that's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to get the elephant out of the room.
If I was trying to hide my. Are you gonna? Can I answer questions like that?
You can rephrase
Yeah.
it. Isn't that what he said yesterday? We could rephrase their questions.
We're ready.
All right.
Okay, we're ready, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners, we're back in session. Thank you, guys.
We do have the documents that were sent as well. It looks like we have one. Trying to think of how to distinguish between the two. They're both 3 pages. They both have the same title.
One's alphabetical and one's chronological.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, are we ready to go?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay.
And just to advise, we cannot see the meeting screen and the documents at the same time. So they're just understand that as we go forward. So we may have to flip back and forth.
Okay. Back on the record, before we get going with the exhibits that were just exchanged, I do want to go through one more video if we may. We can call up clip 4, please. Before you start, Chris, hang on. Ms. Blystone, you can see the clip there,
Yes,
and you recognize that person.
I do.
That is your husband, Joe Blystone, the candidate.
It is.
Okay. I'm going to play the clip. We'll play the clip. I'm going to ask you afterwards, kind of if you know when this occurred, and then some other questions with it. So, with that, if we can play it, please.
Campaign finance out of the room here, because I'm sure that everybody's heard about campaign finance, and oh my gosh, Joe Blystone, they're taking him down. Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about campaign finance, because when we got into this, we didn't know about campaign finance. So many called the Secretary of State, many called trying to navigate all these laws, and campaign finance laws are kind of like the federal tax code. You need a team of CPAs and lawyers to try to navigate. But we have moved in our campaign over the last year and I don't know, a couple months, over 70,000 yard signs that we don't give away. People are actually donating $5 for those signs.
That's unheard of. Usually politicians are begging you, please take the sign. Please stick that sign in your yard. Not us, because we couldn't afford to do that. We didn't have the money. Amongst that, we were, you could give a donation for a t-shirt, a hat, whatever. We have taken in a lot of small donations under $25. So we went on the assumption, the law's a little, it's gray. Do you have to take the name and address, or do you not? Well, we're fighting this out in court right now. Well, many, we did not. So the campaign finance, they, some folks filed a complaint against us. Folks that used to work in my campaign that we kicked to the curb because it was not about them, and it's not about Joe Blystone. The goal here was to take our state back over, and when we kicked it to the curb, they didn't much like that. So we're dealing with this campaign finance complaint. It was supposed to be May 19th. May 19th was the hearing. And then we got a call Tuesday, this last Tuesday, and they said, we're going to expedite this. We want to have the hearing Thursday, last Thursday, 2 days. We had 2 days to get ready. So we got in there, my lawyer was just like, what the heck is going on here?
Joe, people need to understand, this never happens with the OEC.
This never happened.
They always delay, they don't expedite, ever.
So we dealt with a Zoom hearing. They called it a probable cause hearing on Thursday. And they decided, because I have bulk fuel purchases, I do drive a bus around, and it usually costs $500 or $600 to fill it up. But that was, that doesn't look right. And some purchases on Amazon that we purchased certain things to use at some of our fundraisers. And, oh my gosh, it looks like you're buying some things from Rod's Western Palace and Silver Spur. Oh, yes, we bought cowboy hats that we auctioned off. One of those cowboy hats brought $3,500. So, we wanted to give them that information, but they didn't want to hear that on Thursday. They want to go ahead with a full-blown hearing. And guess when that's going to be? May 2nd. So the whole daggone system is corrupt. And I just want to let you know that they are worrying about Joe Blystone at the pumpkin show, moving a sign, and I took $5 and I didn't get a name or address. But let's not look over here, my opponents receiving millions of dollars through PACs, super PACs, 501s. Let's not look at them. Look at Joe Blystone. He's going to jail. He took $5 off of Granny Smith.
The outsider versus the inside.
This is what we got going on. And it has to stop. We need to reform campaign.
Okay, I think that, let me get back on. Okay. Ms. Blystone, do you recognize the event that occurred at?
I don't know where it was, no.
Okay. He does make reference to a probable cause hearing that was held here.
Chris, volume.
Oops. On the 21st, having already occurred. And then a day or two thereafter. Was there some event that you attended a day or two after the probable cause hearing?
I am assuming so.
Okay. But you did recognize that was your husband and was talking on that video clip, correct?
Yes.
Very good. Mr. Chairman, I'd move the admission of that clip.
No objection.
Admitted.
Very good. Now, in that clip, your husband made reference to, quote, many calls to the Secretary of State trying to navigate all these laws, close quote. Did you hear him say that? Or
I
words
did.
to that effect? Did you say yes, you did?
Yes,
Okay. Do you know what calls to the Secretary of State to which he was making reference?
I do not.
You did not make any calls to the Secretary of State to try to navigate the campaign finance laws?
I personally did not.
Okay. Do you know of anybody, do you have personal knowledge of someone making calls to the Secretary of State to try to navigate and figure out the campaign finance laws?
I'm assuming it was him or his assistant, Deb Abbott.
Deb Abbott. But you were the treasurer, correct? You
Yes.
are the treasurer.
Yes, I am the treasurer.
Is there a reason why you wouldn't have called the Secretary of State to try to get clarification on campaign finance laws?
Well, my job as the treasurer is to collect the money, deposit the money, and record the money.
And you got to file the proper reports with the Ohio Secretary of State, correct?
Correct.
And you got to do it in conformity with law, correct?
Correct.
Now, who actually filed the reports with the Secretary of State? Would that have been you, or would that have been Deb Abbott or your husband?
Well, I'm the supervisor. I'm not great with technology, so Deb helps me out with getting things electronically filed.
Okay. Now, your husband made reference in that video clip. Did you hear him talk about, we've distributed over 70,000 yard signs and we don't give them away. People pay $5 for those yard signs. Do you see?
People do make a $5 donation if they can.
And your husband said that at that time, you'd already distributed over 70,000 yard signs.
I would say that's an approximate number.
Okay. You go to lowball it, take it down to 60, 50, 40,000. How low?
I'm not.
Okay. So taking your husband at his word and saying 70,000 yard signs at $5, that's
I want to get the
350,000.
elephant out of the room here. Anybody heard that there's finding?
Chris, it's right. There we go. So you take 70,000 at $5. You're at $350,000.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said you take 70,000 yard signs that your husband said and represented have been distributed but not given away, but sold at $5 a piece.
The people do make a donation.
So that's $350,000.
So I said it was an approximate number. I would have to get out the invoices and look and add them up and get an exact number to tell you exactly how many signs we have distributed.
But of those signs that were sold, what records do you have as to who bought a sign?
Well, again, in the early days of the campaign, we did not take name and address for those donations.
So you don't have any records as to who bought signs from February of 2021 to at least November of 2021.
Well, I have some, but
why would you have some but not complete then?
well, if they gave us $30, then we would take their name and their address, but anything under 25.
And let's see. Does the campaign have like an online store where people can go buy T-shirts, bumper stickers, stuff like that?
Yeah.
It's called Bonfire.
Well, we have a bonfire that I do believe that's just shirts and hoodies. We also have an online on our website, a place where you can shop on the website.
Okay, explain to me what Bonfire is.
I really don't know much about it. It's T-shirts and hoodies, and that's really all I know. And the money then is distributed to our account, automatically goes into the account.
Well, how's that work? If I want to go buy a T-shirt off of Bonfire, what happens? What happens to the money? How's it get transferred, etc.?
I don't know. I just know it goes into the account. That's really not my department.
Who handles bonfire?
I'm not sure. I'd have to get with Joe's assistant.
That being Deb?
Yes.
Abbott?
Yes.
So do you know if I buy a t-shirt for how much do you know, let me say I buy 5 t-shirts
Okay.
on bonfire
All right.
and I pay my money to bonfire, correct?
Correct.
What does the campaign get?
Well, they take fees out and I don't know, they take fees out and then the money goes to the Blystone for Governor account.
Okay. And how did you report receipts received from bonfire accounts? How does that show up on your campaign finance reports?
I believe that it goes onto into the account. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that.
Wait a minute. You're the treasurer. You filed under penalty of election falsification campaign finance reports. I'm asking you how on those campaign finance reports, not how does it end up in the bank account? How does it get reported if I buy 5 t-shirts on bonfire?
I think that's electronic. I don't
What's
think
electronic?
the monies that go into the account.
I'm not asking about the monies that go into the account. I'm asking how does it get how does a purchase on bonfire get reported on your campaign finance report?
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask Deb Abbott.
I've looked on your campaign finance. I don't see any designation of bonfire, either payments to or payments from. Is there a reason I don't see anything from bonfire on your campaign finance reports?
I'd have to look into that.
Do you report on your campaign finance reports the individuals who make purchases from bonfire?
Yes.
So you report the individuals' names on your
Yes.
campaign. That's your sworn testimony.
Yes.
Okay. So do you report the full amount that they paid bonfire or only the money that came from bonfire?
Only the money that comes from bonfire.
So you report the contribution. Now your testimony is if I buy $50 on bonfire and bonfire holds back $30 and only transfers to the account of the Blystone campaign $20. It's your testimony that you are reporting on your campaign finance report that means that say Kurt Hartman contributed $20, even though Kurt Hartman paid $50.
Yes.
Okay, let's move forward to those exhibits then that were forwarded to you. And I think it's easier to go in the chronological order. So just,
Okay, with you.
I'm going to call it up just so everyone's on the same page. And then, like I indicated previously, this was taken this morning from the Secretary of State's electronic filing. It's a slight modification with more information being provided by the campaign in comparison to Exhibit B to the 012 complaint. So looking at this, I'm looking at the first entry. It indicates horse progress days. And it indicates a file date and an event date of July 2nd, 2021. Do you see that?
I do.
And it indicates the amount of $950. You see that?
I do.
Okay. How many people contributed to make $950 for this event?
I'm going to object to that because I just don't think we can expect her to be able to know the details of something like this. Plus, I think it's infringing on the jurisdiction of the Secretary of State, who's currently conducting investigation on this issue. We talked about the letter and the response to it. But go ahead and, because it's a deposition, go ahead and try to answer it. But the judge just want to note the objection for the record.
Yeah, no, I could not tell you how many, what kind of donation that is.
Do you have any records that indicate how many people contributed to a total of $950 at Horse Progress Days on July 2nd, 2021?
I would have to look at my records.
Do you have records that indicate that?
I'm sure I do.
So you kept records of the individuals who contributed and totaled $950?
I would have to check my records.
You would have, I'm just wanting to clarification. You have to check your records to get that information, or you'd have to check your records to see if you even had that information.
Oh, I'm sure I have information, but I would have to look at that.
Okay. And for like that, so same on the Hardin County one, the next line entry, not $3,230. You have information of all the individuals who contributed $3,230 for that event.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at my records.
Do you know how many of these contributions were above $25 or if any were below $25?
I would have to look at the records.
Is there a reason you report? Let's talk about the Hardin County event. You reported as $3,230. Why did you not report it as to all the people who contributed at the Hardin County event?
I'm not sure. I would have to look at the records.
What records are, wait, I'm not asking you what records you have to look at. Why didn't you report it, the individuals who contributed?
It's the same objection. I don't know how you expect her to understand, details behind one entry, but so maybe rephrase the question.
Ms. Blystone, let me ask you this. We've got 4 pages here of individual events identified with no individual contributor.
Well,
and I'm asking you, do you have records of who contributed for all these monies?
Well, again, I would have to look at my records to see what that entry is. If it was a fundraiser or if it was t-shirts and signs, I would have to go back and look at my records.
Go back to, there we go. So the Riverboat Cruise fundraiser event, you see it there, July 4th, 2021.
Yes.
We just saw a video from that event, correct?
Yes.
Now this was a fundraiser event. So I take it you sold tickets or something in advance for people who attended or maybe showed up at the door and bought a ticket.
Yes.
Is this $1,888 the scope of the people who bought tickets to that event?
I don't think so. I think that they bought tickets in advance, and that would be the revenue from the fundraiser itself.
Okay, what happened? What type of fundraising occurred on that Riverboat Cruise?
Well, I think we did. We probably did a hat and various other items that were donated.
You auctioned them off?
Yes.
Okay. So you conduct an auction at a fundraiser. Did Did every item go for under $25?
Probably not, but people do donate with checks and online.
Okay. And so at this first, so you did not report any of the individuals who provided additional money at this fundraising event, correct?
I'm not sure.
Are we still referring to the Hardin County Kenton Town Hall?
No, we're talking about the Riverboat Cruise fundraiser, where it's just acknowledge people bought tickets in advance, and there are reports of people who bought tickets.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out this $1,088 you report.
I would have to look at my records. Not sure.
Well, you just described the event that these aren't ticket sales. These are hat sales that you did on silent auction, whatever. So is there a reason why you did not report the people who contributed the money and identify the people who gave $1,088?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at my records.
What records do you have? What system do you have in place to track the cumulative contributions that any individual makes?
Can you repeat that?
Okay, well, I'll lay the foundation a little better. Do you understand that there are contribution limits to the campaign committee of a person running to be governor of the state of Ohio?
I do.
And that it's illegal to take contributions in excess of a certain amount?
Correct.
Objection, legal calls for a legal conclusion.
What do you do? What do you do as treasurer, if you do it, to monitor or track the cumulative contributions that individuals are making to the campaign in order to ensure you do not exceed the contribution limits?
Well, again, my job as the treasurer is to collect the money, deposit the money, and report the money.
So you collect the money. So you realize, I mean, if you collect money in excess of a contribution limit, you would just deposit that money?
Yes, yes.
No one told you not to accept. So do you know what the contribution limit is for a candidate for governor from an individual?
I do.
What is that amount?
Well, it depends on if you're paying cash or if you're writing checks or donating online.
What is the cumulative contribution limit?
For online donation?
Sure.
$13,704.
And some odd cents.
Correct, maybe 41.
Yeah. So if that is the contribution limit for a gubernatorial candidate, if somebody wrote it, is that the same contribution limit for somebody writing by check?
I believe so. Yes.
And if somebody presented you with a check, an individual check in the amount of $20,000, you would just collect the contribution, deposit it, and not say.
Because I do know that $20,000 is more than $13,000. So I would return that check to that individual.
Okay. But if somebody gave you a $10,000 check and then a couple months later gave you a $5,000 check, so their cumulative contribution was $15,000, which is greater than $13,000.
Yes.
Do you have any system? Do you have any system in place to flag or identify that $5,000 check resulted in a contribution limit being exceeded?
Well, we have very few large donors. And yes, we do some research on those large donations to make sure it does not exceed the $13,000.
What research do you do on those large donations?
We go back and look at our donations.
So let's go to the Riverboat Cruise fundraiser event, $1,080. What information would you have there that's not reported on this campaign finance report?
I'd have to go back and look at my records and see what I have.
And I don't want to belabor the point, but are you going to give me the same answer that you'd have to go back, check your records, and not be able to identify why you are reporting events with all these dollar amounts and not the individuals who contributed?
Yes, I would have to go back and look at my records.
What part of campaign finance law allows you to just indicate an event and give a dollar amount as opposed to reporting
Well,
the individuals who contributed?
In aggregate.
Again, we'll stay with the riverboat cruise because we've established that was a separate fundraising event where somebody paid money, $200, to go on the riverboat cruise, and then you raised additional money there. And you reviewed the campaign finance laws, you said. What provision says you report, or why do you report it just as an event with a dollar amount and not the contributors at that event?
Well, I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look at my records and see about that.
You don't know, I mean, you don't know why you reported it as such? I'm not asking what's in your records. I'm asking why you reported it as such and you don't report the contributors.
Well, again, I'd have to go look at my records and look into that event. I don't know. I can't recall every event. I'm sure we have had, what, over 300 and probably 400, 500 events.
But Ms. Blythe, I'm not asking about individual event now. I'm just asking the manner in which you as treasurer are reporting money coming into the campaign.
Well, it depends on the paperwork that I get from the event.
Explain that. How would the paperwork from an event determine or indicate it as such?
Well, it just depends on the information that is captured at that event and that is given to me, the treasurer.
How many events do you attend versus how many do you not attend? Can you kind of give an allocation? Are you pretty much at all events?
No, I'm not at all events. No.
80% of the events, 50% of the events? What would be your estimate?
I couldn't even make an estimate.
But who's providing the direction at these events as to how the information is supposed to be taken down, recorded, and maintained?
We have team leaders that are instructed. Our core group, they have weekly, sometimes bi-weekly meetings with our leaders who then who attend these events, and they have volunteers under them.
Okay, you just said the team leaders are instructed. Who gives the instructions?
My core group, that would be Deb Abbott and some other team leaders that we have.
Have you given any instructions relative to ensuring campaign finance laws are complied with?
Well, yes, I have.
And what were those instructions?
Well, I thought we already went over this earlier.
Okay, it's the same as before?
Yeah, it is the same as before.
And so, but did you ever correct them and say, no, I can't do something, you can't do it next, you gotta do it?
Yes. And I did say early on, we made mistakes, but we realized what was going on and what we were doing wrong. And we have implemented new policies and paperwork and online donations and smart sheets. And yes, we're doing much better at this donation thing now.
Okay. With respect to these listing of events, the 4 pages that we haven't.
And I believe that this was, and you said that you just got this off the Secretary of State's website, and they need to review it and they'll let us know where we stand as far as the amendments.
Well, I'm not asking about that. I mean, were all of these donations under $25?
I couldn't answer that. without looking at my paperwork.
Where's your paperwork?
Well, I don't have it with me today.
Where's your paperwork?
My paperwork's in my office.
For the events that you do not attend, and you get money back from that event, how is it presented back to you?
Various ways. Sometimes they put it in the mail and send it to our PO box. Usually that's, I don't know, anyway, they send it to our PO box, and sometimes I see them when we're traveling around the state, and they give me an envelope that has paperwork and or checks and maybe some cash.
People put cash in the mail and mail you cash in the mail?
They do.
And is there a report or a summary report? Let's say I'm a volunteer at this event leading the fundraising table. At the end of the event, I've got all this cash that people bought signs and t-shirts with, maybe a few checks. What instructions do I have? What do I do with it now?
Well, that's kind of up to that volunteer. So again, they can either put it in the mail and mail it to our PO box, which that's only happened a few times because people are not crazy about sending cash in the mail. Or they'll wait till they see me and hand it to me personally.
Okay. And money comes in, and who then deposits it in the bank?
I do.
Is there any report, like I'm a volunteer, do I fill out a report saying, hey, I've got $1,250 in cash and I got so many checks totaling X amount? Do they give you kind of a summary report for each fundraising?
They give me the individual donation forms they have filled out from that donation.
And do you correlate it and cross-check it with the amount of money coming in?
Yes.
And what does it what if it doesn't match?
Well, then I go back to that volunteer and find out where the discrepancy is, but generally it's a good match.
Well, but you said at this time you were not taking track or tracking people who gave donations under $25.
Well, like I said, early on, we were having issues. We were under the assumption that under $25, we did not have to collect a name and address.
Wait a minute, wait.
But since rectified.
That was rectified you said in November of 2021, I believe, correct?
Yes. Yes.
If I heard you correctly. So now in this July time frame, you're saying it matches, but would you be getting this, would the contribution information match the dollars if people were given under $25? You still had that information?
Are we talking about the riverboat thing again?
I'm talking about any of these events in July.
Well, like I said, early on, we did not take name and address for donations under $25.
Okay. So if there were 5 people who donated $20 at a function, you would not take that information, their donation information would not have been taken in or about July of 2021, correct?
Correct.
But at that same event, let's say somebody gave $50 in cash. You're saying that information would have been taken down?
It should have been, yes.
Okay. So now I give you a total of $150, but the only indication you've got is a report on a person giving $50 in cash.
Yeah, that's correct.
Would that match then? Would you consider that to be about to bounce?
Like I said early on, we did not take name and address for $25 donations.
Mr. Chairman, we haven't learned anything new in about the last hour. Can we maybe set a time limit on this or something? Because we're just going over the same stuff over and over again here.
Mr. Chairman, she just testified that all these numbers, all the receipts and everything matched and bounced, which I find incredible to believe, because if they're taking money under $25 with no receipts, they would not bounce. but she just said they all bounced, and that's all I'm trying to get clarification on. It's her testimony.
Okay, your objection's been noted for the record, but I think we need to proceed. This is inside the confines of the complaint.
It is. I'm just trying to figure out all these event reports, why we're not getting individual contributions reported. So, Ms. Blystone, let me ask you that let me find one here. Let's go to a Summit County event.
Yeah, I don't, there's a good answer.
Here on October 12th, 2021, $555. You see that? Do you see that here, Ms. Blystone?
No, I do not. I'm seeing your face.
Maybe that's because maybe I need to call it up here. I can't keep track. There we go. Now, how's that?
Okay.
Okay. And if, at this event, you report $555.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if somebody had given you a donation above $25, you would have had that document indicating their contribution, right?
I should have.
Why do you equivocate and say I should have?
Well, it depends on if I was at the event or if this was someone else's event. Was their paperwork filled out? I would have to look at my records and find out.
Okay. But you did not report any of the individual or individuals who contributed a total of $555. You don't identify them by name.
Right, and that's probably $25 and under.
Okay. Now, did anybody ever raise with you or question not keeping track of contributions under $25?
Who say that again?
Did anybody, volunteers, team leaders, with the campaign, not with the campaign, did any of them ever raise or question not tracking donations under $25?
Well, we do track. We did track. We just did it in aggregate.
So you do track, so you do have information of people under $25?
No, we at that point were not doing that.
Did anybody ever raise with you the lack of monitoring or taking down information for donations under $25, be it to buy a sign, a shirt, or otherwise?
I don't recall.
Do you know a person named Amanda Carl?
I do not.
You have no clue who that person is your testimony.
I do not. Like I said, we have 1,200 volunteers all over the state. If she's a volunteer, I don't know who she is.
How much were you involved in the campaign financing and fundraising versus Deb Abbott?
Well, again, I'm the treasurer, so I collect the money and deposit the money and record the money.
You've given that little spiel plenty of times, Dave. I understand that.
Well,
What was Deb Abbott's involvement in terms of fundraising?
As far as fundraising, she's not involved in fundraising. She's Joe's assistant and my assistant, basically.
Did she have any involvement in terms of collecting money from events?
I would think not, no.
Did she have any involvement in dealing with supervising or directing the volunteers at any events in terms of collecting money, selling signs, etc.?
I mean, she might be at an event, But as far as supervising, I don't know about that.
You know a person named Stephanie Fouché?
Stephanie Fouché?
Foucher is how it's spelled. I apologize to her if I'm mispronouncing her name.
Stephanie Fouché. That doesn't ring a bell.
I believe it's Stephanie Foucher.
Now,
Oh, maybe that's why.
I
think she was.
Stephanie Fouché or Stephanie Foucher is.
I believe she was a volunteer early on.
Do you have any team meetings which she and you participated?
Team meetings? No, I don't usually attend any team meetings.
Well, attend Zoom
meet. Bell going off that we're getting through the microphone that's disrupting our sound. Can somebody turn off whatever that bell is?
Does we at team meetings, meeting in person, meeting over the phones, over Zoom or anything?
No, I am not involved in any of the meetings.
So not even in terms of coordinating how we're handling fundraising in this campaign or the monies in this campaign?
No, I'm the treasurer. I take the money in, deposit the money, report the money.
Okay. Let me. Let me get a new exhibit here. Here you go. I'm trying to do a split screen here. Let me see if I can get this to work or not.
We're definitely down for a 5-minute break if anybody else is, but it's up to chairman.
We need to take if he needs to take a 5-minute break, we can do so.
You need a 5-minute break?
We do. We have some people have to go to the bathroom here.
All right. We'll go off the record for right now. Come back on at let's come back at 3:25. Mr. Hartman, do you believe you'll be finished with this witness by the 4 o'clock cutoff that we spoke about earlier?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay.
We're gonna have to continue. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot still to go through. I know we got a break at 4 for our commission members, and that's understandable and appreciated.
Mr. Hartman, do you anticipate any additional discovery going to have to take place based on this testimony today?
I do. Whatever these records that she just referred to, I'd have to check to my records to see what each of these line entries are. That was probably one that kind of jumped out at me immediately. So the answer is yes. I didn't.
All right, let's take that 5-minute break.
feet are sweaty. They gotta be bored to death, man.
Well, some
I don't know.
Why would you? Same thing over and over.
Okay, are we ready to proceed? Mr. Hartman? Mr. Hartman?
Mr. Chairman, yes, there. Hang on. Let me. There we go. Let me go. There. There, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out in terms of scheduling as well, like per your question, I do think some additional stuff's going to be needed now. And no reasonable way we're going to get concluded today.
Okay, all right, hold on. Mr. Hartman, do you want to, and Mr. Brown, I mean, do you want to proceed with a couple more questions, or do we want to just start wrapping this up now and talk about what we're going to do for the next proceeding?
Now is a good breaking point. I probably got another section I can do, probably 5-10 minutes of questions, just relative to the subpoena and records. And then we maybe jump into that, proceeding forward and how we proceed forward from here in progress.
Okay, let's go ahead and go.
Okay. Me. Ms. Blystone, I'm called up the subpoena that was issued to you and served on your son or stepson last week. Just want to go through some of the documents that are identified in there, make sure what documents, if any, do exist. The bank statements we have been provided earlier today and appreciate that. It indicates all records documenting contributions to Friends of Joe Blystone received from each person in the amount of $25 or less. What records would the campaign have with respect to those from the period of July through December of 2021?
Well, again, I'd have to go look at my records. I can't answer that question.
Do you have responsive records to that?
Yes, I do. But
Okay,
like I said, I do not have them with me.
Okay, those have not been provided yet. Okay.
Well, I did not receive the subpoena. Someone accepted this on my behalf, and this is the first I am seeing it.
Yeah. Who is Josh Blystone?
That is Joe's son.
Lives at the residence there on Oregon Street?
No.
Was he at the residence when it was received?
He was probably at work.
Okay.
I don't know anything about this.
Okay, but you do have records documenting the contributions for under $25 is what you're indicating.
Well, I don't have records for under $25. And from what time to what time?
I said from July to December of 2021.
Well, I'd have to go look and see what, like I've been saying all day, we did not collect that information at that time. I may have some, but I don't have much because we did not collect name and addresses at that point.
Right. So the next item down indicates number 13, records supporting all efforts undertaken to identify any anonymous or unidentified contributions received by Friends of Joe Blystone. Campaign did receive anonymous or unidentified contributions, correct?
Anonymous, maybe a few.
Okay. Well, let me check something out here then. Okay. But do you have records of what efforts were undertaken to identify those anonymous donations?
Records to, I don't even understand that statement.
Do you know what an anonymous donation is?
Yes, I do. But what are records to identify an anonymous?
Whatever efforts the campaign undertook to identify.
I have records of a few anonymous because there were people that did not want to give their name, or I would get a check in the mail without a name on it.
So if somebody came to you and said, I'd like to donate, but I don't want my name out there, what would you do?
Well, I usually won't. Now I will not accept that donation.
But you previously would accept the donation and did accept donations, correct?
I think what has happened is that we hand them a donation form and they don't fill it out correctly.
But you just said, you talked about if somebody said they didn't want their name.
Well, now I would do that. Maybe early on. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know what you did?
I don't understand your question now.
Somebody comes to you and says, I want to donate, or back then, back in 2021, you suggest they were intimated by your answer that somebody or one person or people indicated they didn't want their name reported as making a donation.
I think there were probably a few of those.
Okay. What did you do in those situations?
Put anonymous on the donation form.
But you allowed them to make that anonymous donation, correct?
Maybe one or two.
That is a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and then we can explore that further after today, Mr. Chairman. That's all I wanted to go in terms of that and explore that. At this stage, I think if Mr. Chairman, if you're inclined to try to continue this hearing in progress, and we can address outside the confines of a formal hearing, how we're going to proceed here after.
Mr. Brown, any comments?
Can I have a minute to think about whether I'm going to object to this or not?
Object to what?
This is basic, de facto a motion to continue or break now at 3:33 p.m. And I just want to have a moment to think about whether I'm going to object to that or not.
Okay.
I mean, okay. 6 seconds is all I need. All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm back. I just want to say for the record, you know, the election is tomorrow. We've had hours, most of which was just establishing something that's already been stipulated to. And I'm very frustrated that I don't have an opportunity to do my direct examination and fill in these gaps and get an answer to some of the questions that have arisen. It's not the commission's fault on a lot of these things, but it's just unfair that we're not getting an opportunity. Even if I had the next 26 minutes to do it, that's not enough time. And I'm frustrated that we're not able to get our story on the record before Election Day. And I don't know there's a basis for an objection, but I think that should be stated for the record. No objection, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, at this point, Mr. Executive Director, how would we, what are our choices for?
Well, we can either, excuse me, we can either continue it to a date to be determined, and I can talk to council about which date fits within everyone's reasonable schedule. We could try and do a date certain, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that because I think not knowing when respective council might be available to address these matters, appropriately. I just don't believe that it's appropriate to do that. I think we should just continue it now. I'll have conversation back and forth with council. We'll try and reach a mutual date. That would be my recommendation.
Any comments or questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I did have one question for Mr. Brown with respect to designation of treasurer. I understand that Mrs. Blystone is the treasurer of record for the Friends of Blystone campaign, but I attempted to go online to see if there are any other assistant treasurers for the campaign that are designated. Do you know whether there are any designated assistant treasurers?
Without having actually looked at the record, it's my understanding that even though she has people that are helping her prepare the records, which she testified to, they have not designated a assistant treasurer at this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Hartman, do you know that answer?
No, I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions or comments from the commissioners? Okay, hearing none, the recommendation of the executive director is to continue this matter
To a date uncertain, and I will work with council.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Well, we need a motion. I made the recommendation.
Raster.
I move we follow the executive director's recommendation to continue this to a date uncertain.
Second.
There you go.
Right, we have a motion that's been taken and duly seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye and raising your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Kreitz has his hand up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't know whether it was.
Mr. Kreitz, was that your voting hand or you would like to make a comment or question now?
That was my voting hand. It looks
Over
like
all this time, you've learned how to do this. New laptop over.
Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention to this today, and look forward to getting it wrapped up in another hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Bye.
Thank you, council. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, for Thursday, right? 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, not this though.
Right. See you Thursday, Commissioner. Motion to adjourn.
Or you can.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, there's an adjournment motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right.